Let me just say this to all who ask me, why are you harder on the Democrats than you used to be? And Democrats, where are you? If any other minority group was being talked about this way, you'd break out the Kenta cloth and have 10 benefit concerts. But because you see that so many of your brainwashed by TikTok constituents now have an unfavorable view of Israel, you indulge them when you should be correcting them. You don't tell your woke idiots Israel isn't a colonizer or an apartheid state or committing genocide, and that if you brats had to spend a week anywhere in the Middle East other than Israel, you would understand what liberalism is not.
Bill Maher is putting the Democrats on blast. And this time, it's not about wokeness. It's something far more serious. The comedian has zeroed in on what he sees as a troubling anti-Jewish shift inside parts of his party, one that clashes hard with historical reality. So Maher torched them with sarcasm, razor-sharp wit, and a dose of fiery comedy. So hit the subscribe button.
Anti-Jewish crimes, hate crimes, now outpace anti-Muslim hate crimes 9-1. It's not a contest, and I'm certainly not saying do more of the other. I'm just saying these are the numbers, the facts, the reality. There is a frothing anxiousness for the literal extermination of this one group.
If you haven't already, and let's dive in. Maher opens by laying out the bare facts with unflinching clarity. Anti-Jewish hate crime has been rising sharply. He puts forward some genuinely staggering numbers that are difficult to ignore. To be fair, Maher isn't suggesting any group deserves to be targeted. He's careful to acknowledge the broader landscape of hate in America, but his intentions are unmistakable. Anti-Semitic crime is surging, and someone needs to say it plainly. This is where things get uncomfortable for the political left. Maher is a lifelong Democrat, a man who has spent decades defending the party on national television. So when he turns his attention to where the Democrats fit into all of this, the criticism carries a particular weight that an outsider simply couldn't. He isn't attacking from a...
All the people likely running for president now on the Democratic side want it known they don't take money from AIPAC, the Israeli lobby, a stance which gives permission to actual anti-Semites to say, see, we're right about Israel.
Across the aisle. He's speaking from within. And that's precisely what makes what comes next so worth listening to. Maher doesn't stop at the statistics. He turns his lens directly on the Democratic Party, and what he finds isn't flattering. His argument is pointed. Democratic politicians are actively making things worse by distancing themselves from AIPAC funding. For years, accepting money from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee was standard practice, completely unremarkable across both sides of the aisle. Nobody batted an eye. Then something shifted. As anti-Semitic sentiment began rising to a fever pitch, particularly within progressive circles, those same politicians suddenly wanted nothing to do with AIPAC money. The optics apparently had become too costly. Maher finds this deeply troubling and, frankly, hard to defend. If the money was acceptable before, what exactly changed?
We're right about Israel. That's a dirty money from a dirty country. Oh, please, you take money from crypto and factory farmers and big tech, from Diddy and Weinstein and Epstein, but AIPAC is too far?
The answer, he implies, is not principle. It's political convenience. To Maher, this is textbook double standards, plain and simple. But his next observation cuts even deeper, and it may genuinely surprise you. Here's where Maher really sharpens the critique. He calls out Democratic politicians for breathtaking hypocrisy. Because while they're refusing AIPAC money and performing moral outrage for their base, they have absolutely no problem accepting donations from individuals with genuinely troubling track records. We're not talking about minor controversies here. Maher names donors with documented histories of serious, even heinous, conduct. Yet these politicians line up willingly, hands outstretched, no questions asked. The contrast is impossible to ignore. AIPAC money, suddenly toxic. Money from deeply compromised individuals, perfectly fine. Apparently, Maher's diagnosis cut straight to the heart of the...
At least the party has a clear choice here, very clear. One wing is saying don't ever use the word socialist again, and one is saying...
I am a democratic socialist!
Clear, huh? So how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won in districts Trump also won, all moderates. This isn't rocket science. All the left-leaning think tanks have done autopsies on 2024, and they all came up with the same message: move to the center.
Problem. These politicians don't operate on principle. They operate on popularity. They have no fixed moral compass. They simply follow the crowd, gravitating toward whatever position generates the loudest applause at any given moment. When anti-Israel sentiment became more fashionable in certain circles, they chased it without hesitation, without shame, and without looking back. Maher then pivots to what he sees as another self-inflicted wound tearing the Democratic Party apart from the inside: its stubborn, almost defiant refusal to move toward the center. Instead of course-correcting after recent electoral setbacks, the party appears hell-bent on lurching further left. And Maher thinks this is a losing strategy, both morally and politically. To back this up, he doesn't just offer opinion, he brings receipts. Maher cites compelling data.
The problem is, Gen Z thinks socialism's wired and capitalism's tired and billionaires are what's for dinner. And who can blame them? If you're 30 and still sharing a bathroom with roommates, capitalism isn't working for you. People will reject any economic system where there's strange hair on the soap. No one wants to be approaching middle age and still writing their name on food before they put it in the fridge.
That tells a very clear story. In districts that voted for Donald Trump, the Democratic candidates who actually won were not the hardline progressives. They were moderates, politicians who were willing to meet voters where they are rather than where the activist base wants them to be. The numbers don't lie, and Maher knows it. The far left wing isn't delivering victories. It's delivering losses. Yet somehow the party refuses to read the room. The question is, why? The leftward drift doesn't stop at policy disagreements or funding controversies. It goes deeper into ideological territory that would have been unthinkable for mainstream Democrats just a generation ago. Increasingly, a vast majority within the party are openly flirting with socialism, apparently convinced it represents some kind of political salvation, a bold new vision that will finally resonate with a frustrated electorate. But here's where Maher takes us.
The thing is, socialism will because socialism, to put it simply, just doesn't work and has never worked, like Kevin Federline. I know the kids think that stuff that happened before their appearance on the planet didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes.
Surprisingly nuanced turn. He doesn't simply mock the rank-and-file Democrats gravitating towards socialist ideas. He actually understands them, to a point. Faced with crushing student debt, unaffordable housing, and stagnant wages, it's not hard to see why radical solutions feel appealing to younger voters searching desperately for answers. The blame, in Maher's view, rests squarely elsewhere, on the poor life choices being quietly normalized within progressive culture and, more importantly, on the party leaders who should know far better. Maher's reasoning for why Democrats are on a path to repeated electoral defeat is, at its core, straightforward. Socialism doesn't work, and the American public knows it. This isn't a fringe opinion. It reflects something deeply embedded in the national psyche. Most Americans instinctively understand that the country's extraordinary prosperity was not built on socialist foundations. It was built on capitalism, on competition.
I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense.